Okay. Good evening. I'm Nathan Stix, Chair of the Community Activities Commission, calling to order the Newcastle Community Activities Commission meeting of February 12th, 2025. The time is 6 p.m. This public meeting is being recorded, broadcast live, and may be viewed later on the city's YouTube channel. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, please note that Commissioners Lee and Kretzinger will be absent tonight and are excused. And Amy, would you please do the roll?
Certainly. Commissioner Forsberg? Here. Commissioner Van Atta?
Present.
Commissioner D'Souza?
Here.
Vice Chair Flash?
I am here.
Chair Stix?
I am here as well. Thank you, Amy. Okay, is there any objection to tonight's agenda as presented? Okay, Amy, please show that tonight's agenda is approved as presented. And is there any objection to approval of the minutes from January 11th as presented? Nope. Amy, please show that the meeting minutes are approved as presented. And do we have any public comment? Okay. Commissioner comments and celebrations. So does anybody have anything they would like to share?
Just one thing. So at the Lunar New Year celebration, someone introduced myself to someone and they said, "Oh yeah, I know who you are. I have seen you on YouTube during the commission meetings." And so the only thing I want to state is that even though there's usually nobody here at our meetings, there are people that do watch the replays, and so the work that we're doing is really important and is well appreciated in the city of Newcastle. So thank you all to all of you.
I have a few things to talk about. So first, I just would like to congratulate Amy and Ed on a fabulous Lunar New Year event. It was very well attended, and it was really fun. So nice job. And to the commissioners that volunteered, thank you very much as well. Couple quick updates. So we had our initial meeting of the Volunteer Appreciation Subcommittee. Kim and Allison and I met January the 3rd to start talking about some of our options for celebrating our volunteers, and more to come on that, so work in progress. Also, Christian and I just met with the new chamber president, Allison Sweeney, and treasurer Andy Sharp on January 29th to discuss our continued collaboration together, our commission and the chamber, in supporting our local businesses. So it was a very good, very positive meeting. I was hoping Christian could be here because she might have some comments, but we are definitely dedicated to continue working closely together and providing more feedback with each other on events, because the chamber is really starting to gear up and plan more events. So more to come on that as well. Okay, let's get on to reports and turn it over to Amy, Events and Recreation.
Alrighty. Some event highlights. I don't want to go into too much depth and steal Vice Chair Flash's thunder regarding the Lunar New Year celebration. However, as you know, it was held on Sunday, February 9th from 1 to 4 at Risden Middle School, and I want to thank the partnership of Newcastle Arts Council, the Friends of the Library, and Newcastle Library and the Planning, as well as our community members that joined us to help put that together. I want to thank all of our volunteers, especially our local scouts who stayed to the very end, stacking chairs and sweeping the floor to make the custodian's job easier and to make us wonderful guests so that we can continue to use that facility. Earth Month is our next event time period. Staff is planning an outdoor weekend volunteer event similar to Weed Warriors or something along the lines of Weed Warriors like we did last year at Lake Bourne Park. We're also discussing an effort to get folks out on the trails, logging invasive species using the iNaturalist app, as well as continuing to promote Adopt a Drain through the Adopt a Drain program. And finally, summer events bookings have started. Our fireworks vendor and our sound technicians. Next up, our bands. So if you have any recommendations, Commissioner Van Atta started a SharePoint document. So please, if you have references, referrals from the community or from your own experience, please add those to that document that Commissioner Van Atta set up. And then our item number 5 on the agenda tonight is to have folks sign up for subcommittees. And so very soon I'd like to meet with the subcommittee working on the fireworks and concerts to pin down which performers we would like to have perform this summer and get those booked up pretty quickly. In terms of our programming, Spring Skyhawks tennis, soccer, and soccer tots begins on Tuesday, April 15th, right around the corner. You can register online at bit.ly Newcastle Skyhawks by Friday, April 4th. Summer camp scheduling is underway. I'm literally working on it as you meet. And so the goal is to balance having recreational programming for our youth, utilizing our wonderful resources. We're one of the few folks in the area with a tennis court, and as well as a beach volleyball pit. So trying to leverage those unique features of our park while also balancing community use. I am also looking at offering some non-sports, utilizing our picnic shelters. So if you have ideas for chess camps, science camps, if you have programs that you've been pleased with in the past or know of, or have a connection with, please send them my way. We would like to expand our offerings for our youth at Lake Bourne Park in the summer. And then finally, our next volunteer newsletter will go out on Friday, February 21st. It's a great way to promote the year-round opportunities in our community. Thanks in advance for sending me any opportunities that you learn of through your community organizations by the end of the day on Thursday. I also include a volunteer kudos and organizational spotlights. So if you have a recommendation of an organization you'd like to spotlight, or if you have some volunteers you'd like to send kudos to, let me know and we can highlight those in the newsletter. Any questions? I know I read this pretty much word for word, but where it wasn't in the packet, I wanted to make sure that the viewing audience could benefit from what was on there. Alrighty then, no questions, I will move on.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, let's do our committee reports. And Shelley, what's going on at the Y?
Okay, so there is a family movie night on February 28th in honor of Black History Month. They are going to provide more active older activities on Tuesdays, just in general in the mornings, and then on Tuesdays they're going to have a game club, so board games and things like that. And on Fridays there is going to be a new knitting club, and they're looking to launch a book club as well. But they don't have a date for that.
And are those open to the public or members only?
Open to the public.
Cool.
And then Saturday, April 26th is Healthy Kids Day from 10 to 1. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Connie, what's going on with the library?
Yes, so as always, there are ongoing events throughout the month at the library, so I just wanted to highlight one this evening. Every Friday from 10:30 a.m. to noon, there is a talk time for English conversation. You can practice speaking with other English language learners, learn about American culture, and meet people from around the world in a fun and friendly environment. It is suitable for adults ages 18 and up, and registration is not required. But as I mentioned, there's all kinds of events for all ages throughout the month, so I'd encourage anyone who's interested to check out the Newcastle Library website.
I would just like to add that that is also available for native English speakers, and they always welcome people who are willing to have conversations in that space.
Yes, lovely. And then I actually was late to reaching out to the Friends of the Newcastle Library this month. I reached out to them this morning and have not heard back, so I don't have an update for them today.
If you don't mind, the Friends of Newcastle Library they were at the Lunar New Year with an Asian book sale, and they have a pop-up going on this week at the library through Saturday. So pop-up book sale, particularly focusing on their Asian language collection, but all of their books in the lobby of the library.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay, Ed. Newcastle Arts Council.
Yeah, yeah, so thank you. So big event in the past month or so that we've done, as Amy pointed out, was the being one of the lead sponsors for our Lunar New Year celebration here in Newcastle. This is the fourth year that we've had a significant celebration here in Newcastle, so we're excited about that. It was attended by about estimated 1,000 people, so another wonderful community event. And as Amy pointed out, thanks for the partnership between the Newcastle Arts Council, the City of Newcastle, the Friends of Newcastle Library, and representatives from the Newcastle Library that all had representatives sitting on a steering committee that planned the event and also provided financial support for it. That financial support came from donations and mostly grant funding from various sources. One of those sources being the King County District 9 office, and I want to thank Reagan Dunn and his staff for supporting that effort with financial support. It was a wonderful event, as Amy pointed out, with lots of volunteers helping out, lots of people enjoying the celebration, and just again, a wonderful community event. I also want to thank some elected officials that came to the event. So we had representatives from our local city council here in Newcastle, council member Sherlock, Charbonneau, Burford, who was instrumental in helping plan the event. Quigg and Griffin, along with Mayor Clark, were there. We also had the 41st District State Representative Janice Vaughn there, and King County Council members Claudia Balducci and Reagan Dunn, who was there with some of his staff members. So once again, thank you for supporting that, a great community event, and I think everybody had a really great time at that activity. Coming up this Saturday, we are partnering with one of our wonderful local businesses, the Coleman, and Mud Bay. So Mud Bay's going to be, if they haven't opened soon, or if they're not open, okay, not open yet, they will be opening soon in Newcastle. And what is happening is at the Coleman from 5 to 7, there's a local mural artist that is going to be offering up drawings of your pet. If you come and make a donation to Posada, which is a animal shelter, and so any donation is fine. And again, bring a picture of your pet, and the artist will do a drawing of your pet for you. That's from 5 to 7. We're going to be having our Newcastle Arts Council annual meeting on March 3rd. There's also our art exhibition that's happening in the month of March at the Newcastle Library. So this is our annual event. We do one in March for youth, one in September for adults. So this is going to be our youth exhibit. We're going to have 36 youth artists artwork on display representing 20-plus schools in the local area, and all grades, kindergarten to 12th, are represented in that exhibition. And then on March 8th, we're going to be celebrating the holiday of Holi by making mixed media marigolds. Looking forward to the summer. We're doing our art fair on July 19th at the Commons, where we've had that for a few years now. And of course, continue to support our free little art gallery at City Hall and the Poetry Wall at Lake Bourne Park. And soon to be coming on Coal Creek Parkway is another utility box mural. So that'll be coming up in the next couple of months. We just got the designs approved for that. So that'll be coming forthcoming. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. I have one quick update from Christian, and that's the Chamber is having their after-hours get-together at Loco Chan on February 20th from 4 to 6. And that concludes our reports. Shally and Connie, don't forget to give me your notes. And with that, we'll start with our general business. And first on, we have Gary Campen with the Newcastle Trails. Welcome to our meeting tonight, Gary.
Button. I do this so seldom, I've forgotten where the button is. First, after hearing those presentations, I would like to thank all the members of the commission for their hard work in putting on an enormous array of wonderful events for the city. So I really appreciate it, and I think all of us in the community do. So I'll start my talk. I'm Gary Campen. I live in Newcastle. I grew up in a small farming town of 3,000 people, but we had parks and lawns for picnics, a big swimming pool, and sports facilities with covered bleachers. 3,000 people, not rich. I helped to found Newcastle, and I've watched it grow past 12,000 people, a small city ranking high in national reviews. We're doing great. We have a great trail system. Compared to Renton, we have 10 times the mileage of nature trails per capita. And Renton is nearly 10 times larger with a stronger tax base. But Renton has at least 3 things Newcastle lacks: a parks department, a parks board, and a fully developed waterfront park. Newcastle should have all 3. If the CAC became a parks commission or took on the powers of a parks commission, the other 2 might follow. Renton's waterfront park has a beach, boat launch, docks, 2 water walks, water pavilions, cafes, a waterfront trail, and dozens of benches. Not Lake Bourne Park. After 30 years, the first waterfront bench appeared on the new boardwalk. Half of the waterfront is undeveloped. No waterfront trail, no pavilions or landscaping or benches. Newcastle Trails lobbied 6 years for the boardwalk. At about the same cost, we can complete the waterfront. We should have at least 1 kiosk with a map of our trail system somewhere in the city, and we have 1 in Windtree, but we should have at least 1 trail map in a major park. So here are 4 things that the CAC can do now for our parks and trails. And the first, and this is the biggest priority for Newcastle Trails, is completing Lake Bourne Park with an East Shore promenade. The promenade would at last complete the Lake Bourne Trail, which citizens asked for in the very first public meetings after we were founded. The project would include benches, water and view pavilions, and landscaping to shield the park from traffic noise. This is not just the top priority of Newcastle Trails. It's favored in public surveys in the 2016 Park Master Plan. Compared to other large projects, the Promenade project would serve more residents over more hours with a better benefit-cost ratio. The Boardwalk project ranked first after the last public meeting, and the Promenade project has even more amenities. So that's the first thing. Second, do a public survey. The CAC has a great resource, Amy, who can reach Newcastle residents with surveys and information better than anyone else. I'd exploit that great asset. And if we did a survey, I would expect the promenade to rank first. With a push from the CAC and the public, the council might actually give it priority and direct staff to seek a grant right away. And grants are available, and we'd be likely to get one. A survey could do two other things. It could identify and rank smaller projects that could be done without waiting for a big grant, using volunteers and city funds or donations. And it could identify those volunteers and donations. Here I'm thinking about things like a community garden, which was in the plan early. People wanted it, then it dropped out. We could have other things like public art. The stone garden could become a work of landscape art or a memorial garden. There are all sorts of small projects we can do at any time if we have the volunteers and the funding. It could also, a survey could also identify projects that offer few or negative benefits. City staff ranks at least 3 other large projects ahead of the promenade. Expanded parking, an amphitheater and stage on the north lawn, and a 10-foot wide asphalt promenade with costly lighting running north from the parking lot through the middle of the amphitheater, the former lawn. All of these drew some negative comments at public meetings, and the survey should allow negative ratings. Some people prefer big lawns and trees to infrastructure and asphalt. The surveys in the 2016 master plan show a strong public preference for grass, trees, trails, and water access. But in 2023, the staff sought a $1 million grant for the amphitheater project. The grant failed and the lawn remains for now. A third topic, bring back the Parks Commission. The CAC has done great work, and commissioners do great work outside the CAC in other public arenas. We have, superstars in our city who are just doing great things. But the CAC's name and the charter may shape its membership and its focus away from parks and trails. Whatever the name, the commission should be charged with reviewing major park projects and empowered to challenge those that are not popular or cost-effective. Somebody has to do that work, and the council covers all the bases. They are stretched way too thin. They cannot do some of the things that a commission could do. Public outreach should go both ways. We have a terrific newsletter, but we should have surveys that ask for opinions, volunteers, and donations. Get all of those things. Perhaps the commission could expand in a novel way. You may do this already. Committees chaired by commissioners with volunteer members pull in the people with the skills and interests aligned with the committee. And maybe you're doing that now. But in any case, until we have a Parks Department, we need the commission to take up the slack. And the fourth is a smaller item that can be done at any time and there's no rush, but it's still important. Adopt standards for map kiosks and then see that we have some. Newcastle has really fine standards for park and trail signs and other park furniture. I love our logo, our burgundy color, those metal plates, we've done really well. But we should have standards for map kiosks as well, and we should help get them installed in parks and trailheads. Kiosks would display public notices, park maps and trail maps undercover, and the standard could include 2 types of kiosk. One, we could have small, low-cost kiosks, just 2 posts with a frame, compatible with existing standards, would fit our parks, and they could be built and installed by Eagle Scouts as low-cost projects. In many of the projects, the Scouts will raise the money, they'll consult with the community, and then erect the the kiosk where the community and the city decided should go. So we have great projects potentially and ways of getting kiosks installed for next to nothing. The second kind of kiosk is large commercial kiosk with more display area. And you've seen these in parks all over the area. Big octagonal structures and simple two-faced structures of all sizes and shapes, some metal, some wood. But, to fill in the gaps, if the small portable kiosks can't handle the display area, have a standard, choose some commercial structures, and maybe we could have at least one attractive commercial sign kiosk, map kiosk in our main park, in Lake Bourne Park. Now, at this point, how much I'm given 15 minutes. How much have I taken? 10, okay. So there's a little time for questions, but I'll also, if you would like, to look at the map in your packet. I'll try to quickly walk you through some of the highlights of the proposed East Shore Promenade, or Lake Bourne Promenade. And if you look at the map in Figure 1, the map on the left, it shows the Lake Bourne Trail going around the lake. The bright green line. Well, now I guess it's, in my printed map it's dark green, but it's a green line with dots. And the dotted part is the best part of the trail. It's the shoreline part along the shore of Lake Bourne, the East Shore. And that's the promenade that's mentioned in the 2016 master plan. So we'd like to see that promenade built, and that is a fairly small project, a $50,000 type of thing. It needn't be that expensive, but there's a lot more to the promenade project, or the promenade project. For one thing, the entire park would benefit if we had a bank of dense conifers, the sound-absorbing variety, along the parkway. Because the trail would get parkway noise, and the park gets parkway noise, and there really are ways to ameliorate it and also provide habitat for animals at the same time. So there should be a dense bank of conifers, and there should be shade trees and landscaping along the lakeshore where possible, and benches. And finally, there's no reason why we can't have in the same package, for about the boardwalk cost, a couple of pavilions, and perhaps a water pavilion sitting on the edge of the lake, and perhaps a view pavilion higher up with a view of the lake closer to Aegis. This new waterfront area would be much closer than the rest of the park to Aegis and Regency and all the condos and apartments in the area. So it would serve a large population and let those people simply walk to the park. They could walk to one of the best parts of the park and not have to drive to a parking lot and then walk back to the waterfront. So that would be the basic outline of the situation. And the water pavilion, of course, could be a moon viewing pavilion. So the other thing is, we could pursue for example, there's a $1 million RCO grant that is offered every year for small cities, and you win points for trails, parks, and waterfront access. Hey, and we have a lot of support in the community. We got the boardwalk. We have a lot of support outside the community in our elected leaders. I mean, we've seen them show up for a ribbon cutting. They'll do it again. They like to give us money. So we have to encourage them. So, I think we need to pursue this project and really get it done and not wait 6 years to pursue a grant. I think I'll sort of wrap things up there and ask for questions. Okay. Does anyone have questions?
Well, first, I just want to say, Gary, thank you so much for coming tonight. You are talking to the Parks Commission. This commission was never not the Parks Commission. The name was changed in 2018, 2019 to the Activities Commission, but it is still part of our duties that we are to do exactly what you said, oversee and be a part of parks and trails and future projects, ongoing projects. The fact that Brendan is now back in the role of the Parks and Trails planner, we will be more engaged with, like tonight, getting his first quarter update.
Right.
So, but you do have a Parks Commission, and is one of my goals is to rename this commission to include parks in the name of the commission, so that people will remember
Yeah.
that that's an important element of what we do. So,
And of course, I strongly support that.
Yes.
Because I think the name is important, and I think when you have something called a Parks Commission, you may get, that name may attract people who are more inclined to focus on things like, how do we get that final chunk of park? Or why can't, after 30 years, how come we still don't have a waterfront bench until just last year? I mean, somebody has to deal with those things, and when the council or the staff don't deal with it, then I think you need a commission that does. So by all means, I'm totally in favor of renaming the, and I would also say something. I was doing an epitaph for Jim Price for his memorial stone, and Community Activities Commission is an awfully clumsy name. I'd rather just say he was a hero on the Parks Commission. So keep that in mind too. The short name is the better one.
thank you, Gary. Any questions for Gary?
Yeah, I have a very specific question. That RCO grant you were mentioning that's yearly,
Yeah.
is that something that we've applied for before?
We have, and I believe that was the grant we applied for and didn't get for the amphitheater.
Okay.
And I've talked to the people, I've talked to those people over the years. I just don't know what the deadline date is for this grant. I had a note to check and just got so busy I didn't get to it, but it keeps popping up. And of course, there are other grants, and we happen to have people in our community, I'll point to just one, who are so well connected that we would, we can get grants. If we wanted a grant for this promenade project, I'm sure we'd get it. At the state level and at the county level, we have support in both areas. People have known us for a long time, and so the trick is simply getting the council to act.
And Gary, who would be initiating that process? Is that Brendan
Right.
with our backing?
Well, of course, my other thought, when I say we have no park board, no parks department, Brendan is our parks department. But the problem there is that the parks department should be an independent entity, reporting only to and we asked Scott Pingle about this when he first came on board, that the parks department should be its own independent entity, reporting directly to the city manager with guaranteed funding. So, the council doesn't have to renew the position from year to year, and maybe we lose a very talented person. And of course, that's the tragedy if you don't have a continuing parks department. You get a really good person, and they do great work, and of course, then they're lured away to a better job. Or the council decides that that's a position that doesn't need funding this year. And we can't run a city that way. So we do need an and I would hope that the activated commission, whatever its name, would push for things like this, would become lobbyist in a sense and say, we need an independent parks department, even if it's just one person. We need a continually funded position so that person stays and we have some institutional memory. These are important things. And again, it's a major failure when after 30 years you don't even have one sign in your major park that has a trail map for a wonderful trail system. We can do better than that, right? I think we can. With you guys, I know we can.
Gary, thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. The information you've provided us is very helpful,
Great.
and we will definitely take it into consideration. So
Well,
thank you.
great. I mean, you guys are shining lights of the city, so I want you to just gain and strengthen power and influence every way you can.
And keep Allison Lee, Commissioner Lee, in the loop, because she is our, liaison to the Parks and or to the
Right.
Newcastle Trails, so.
And I keep her on our board mailing list.
Good.
And so I think she gets everything the board sees.
Yep.
But I was hoping to see her tonight, and I hope she can attend her next meeting. So that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. And Peggy, thank you for coming too.
Peg,
Well, Peggy wanted to add something to what I said, did you?
and I have a question. And it could be, I could be wrong. I thought I remember there was a parks map in Lake Bourne. Is that true that there
Yes.
used to be one? Okay, but it was removed
It was removed and never replaced.
and never replaced.
And a few years ago, I actually had an Eagle Scout project ready to go. I designed the portable plan that fit the community, fit the rest of the park sign standards, 2 posts, and something that any neighborhood park could use, something a scout could build for like $100, raise the money himself. And we had the Eagle Scout project all set to go, but then the city canceled it because apparently there's some kind of insurance problem, which is strange because the scouts have their own insurance. So, but we had a bureaucratic blunder, and for that year, we had to cancel all our Eagle projects until, we postponed them. And then eventually, when Davy was hired, Davy got things straightened out, and the city again allowed the Eagle projects to go forward. But I'm glad that came up, because there are lots of things that a group like yours that's official can do that we can't. And there have been times in the history of Newcastle Trails when the parks person just stopped communicating with us. And a couple times, one time Giles Velty was actually threatened with a lawsuit by the city for the trail work he did with his bulldozer on May Creek Trail. And of course, Giles also did a lot of bulldozer work in initial Lake Bourne Park. He's a big part of our community's development. But the city threatened him with a lawsuit, and later on, Dan Wilson and I were threatened with a lawsuit for trail work we'd done on the Crosstown Trail. So, cities are very strange. They're strange creatures, and sometimes they don't like their volunteers. So, a group like you that are official and have powers, I want you to have the maximum powers and use them effectively, and you can do an enormous amount of good.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
Peggy, how much time do you need?
Probably about 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. Thank you.
I thought you might want to have a little bit more idea of what we're kind of thinking that we'd like you guys to do. One would be naming new parks and trails, which I think you already know about that one. Make sure maps are up to date. Tyler's working on the comprehensive plan maps, and there's some talk that maybe he'll do a walking map or a trail user map. And it hasn't happened to this point, and maybe they just need somebody to say, yeah, we really need one. Newcastle Trails, we lost our map maker, so ours is really out of date. Checking new plat applications so that trails are accommodated where they're appropriate, and make sure there's pedestrian connectivity between cul-de-sacs when they're built, with whatever's behind them. And get desirable connections included in the comprehensive plan map. And those are the things I was thinking about. So hopefully you guys either have an interest or can find people with an interest in doing those things on a reasonably regular basis. And I'm sure that Brendan would help, no doubt about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. Appreciate both of you coming tonight. And with that, Brendan?
All right. Good evening, everyone. It's pretty cool seeing so much attention to parks and trails. And I'm excited for kind of hopefully this new era here, but really want to kick off with a little update for you all, my Q1 Parks and Trails update. Are you guys all able to see it on your screens right now? Okay, perfect. All right, so quick overview. Just going to do a general parks update, and then a general trails update, and then a little overview of some of the future projects. I'm just going to run through these. Feel free to jump in at any time or hold your question till the end. It's really up to you. I can be interrupted, I don't mind. So first here, general parks updates. So this past, 6 months I've been here now. I've been working on cemetery fence replacement. So this is underway. We've been reviewing submittals now, and one thing on the radar over the next month or so, over the next couple of months, is going to be doing a ribbon cutting. So maybe get some involvement from you guys on that would be pretty helpful, but it'll be a really great addition to the cemetery fence there. Some big news on the Hazelwood Boardwalk project. We had our kickoff meeting this week. That's for the design. So we're working on that right now. We're working with KPFF. So I'm confident that we're going to have a really nice boardwalk out there with the plan to be starting construction this summer when the water's down. Next, the Newcastle Historical Park. So you can kind of see in the photo in the background there, the BIMA buildings have been moved. If you guys haven't had a chance, it's pretty exciting and interesting project. So these 3 buildings were once, about 500 to 700 feet away from where they are existing on the corner there. But big steps in progressing this historical park. And then ongoing coordination with the developer, contractor, and the Newcastle Historical Society on that one. Another is we're updating the donation policy. So there's been a lot of, as I've been here, there's been a lot of outreach to me about how can I get a new bench? I want to dedicate a bench or a tree in Lake Boren Park. So the previous process was a little outdated, so I've been working to streamline it a little bit. So it's going to be more of just a selection where people can look at what the options are, select, and then we'd get a pre-prescribed tree or bench put in for them there. So updating that. And then we had a really great Arbor Day celebration with the help of Amy and the Public Works crews up at Glen Eagles Park. Did some replantings and some barks refresh, which it looks really great up there now. Well, it's covered in snow right now, but yeah, it's looking pretty good. And then lastly here, we utilized the Youth and Amateur Sports Grant, or the YASG Grant 2023, for a few things which we highlighted in the newsletter not too long ago. One being the pickleball nets at Lake Boren Park, which were a big hit. I was just actually talking to someone today about those again. Soccer goals at Redmond Park, and then an extension for a basketball fence up at China Falls Park. So that was a $5,000 grant, which we were able to take a pretty long ways. And yeah. Next, some general trail updates. Right now, we got the Terrace Trailhead relocation. So I was actually out there today with Peggy and Gary looking at some locations that we could relocate. So if some of you who might not be aware, a couple of years ago, a couple rainy seasons ago, there's a large boulder that fell down on the Terrace Trailhead entrance and rolled out into the street there. And the Terrace Trailhead is behind the Highlands. This year we had a geoengineer come out and take a look. The report deemed that the trailhead was hazardous, and they recommended moving the trailhead location. So been working on coordinating where to put that, and I think we made a lot of really great progress today. this one's really a shout out to Peggy. Peggy's been working really hard on the horse trail and extending the horse trail with a whole lot of switchbacks. So I know on any given day you can probably find her out there working on some switchbacks. We're working on replacing a lot of the bollard faceplates. So I do get a lot of C-click fixes from folks who notice, and this is always extremely helpful when people are able to take photos and kind of tell me exactly where we might need some new bollard faceplates, ones that are worn or might be out of date. So I've gotten a quote for replacing a lot of those, and just going through the motions now of pinpointing which ones need to be replaced and what content is going to be on each faceplate. And then lastly, I'd say the lion's share of the trails work over these last 6 months has been the comprehensive plan. Again, very hands-on with Gary and Peggy there, and then our community development team. All right, some future projects that we got going on to highlight here. In the parks sector, we have Park at 95th, doing some research and outreach. The Hazelwood Boardwalk replacement, again, I mentioned this, but it's going to be ongoing through the rest of this year, but hopefully plan is to start construction this summer. We'll wrap up design early summer, late spring, and then kick off construction in the summertime. Newcastle Historical Park, really outfitting the park with all the Newcastle Historical Societies and features. It's going to be a really great park, but just continuing to coordinate with them, and then also getting the Newcastle Historical Society involved here as well. I've asked them as well to start coming into and providing some updates as well, since we're going to be putting together a very historically dominated park there. Lake Bourne tennis court resurfacing and striping, so a pretty exciting one here, especially for those pickleballers out there. We're planning on doing a restriping of the Lake Bourne tennis courts, so it would be 1 tennis court and 4 pickleball courts. Then we have another grant that we plan on using here, the YASG. They renamed it to the GASA, which is the Get Active, Stay Active grant for 2024. Right now, we're planning on doing some Donegal Park improvements. And then the Lake Bourne Park Plan implementation. There was discussion about doing the north parking and turnaround, which would be just if you go past the cemetery where we have our current public works garage back there. And then on the trails front, working on the Greencastle Trail connection. So we have a pretty exciting development underway right now that has a lot of potential for new trails and connections with the Terrace Trail to the Highlands Trail, and then ultimately up into the King County Park system as well. So really exciting opportunity. Been meeting with the engineers on that, but continuing to see that one through, again, with the help of Newcastle Trails. And then Kenyon Dobson Trail Connection, there's a great trail connection that I've been working with the city of Renton on and coordinating how, again, with Newcastle Trails help over there, on how we can connect to a new park that Renton plans on putting in called the Kenyon Dobson Park, which would really act as kind of a trailhead park for them, but we'd be able to connect it over to May Creek, and it would be a really great asset. And then to Peggy's point, updating the trail guidelines and some map updates. So, keeping any map updates that Newcastle Trails has going forward, and then updating the walking path or the walking map, and incorporating those in kiosks, and finding locations that we could post those to really boast the robust trail system that we have. And that's it. Any questions?
So I guess just quick question then on that last piece. So does that address the like standards piece that Gary outlined in the presentation, or is that just purely updating the maps that are on the city website so that they're consistent?
I'd say it would go hand in hand. You'd want to do them, I would want to do them together. I think the first step is going to be updating the map. The kiosks, we're actually working on a public works standards update right now, so I made a note to myself to include that probably in our public works standards update. So it's something that, you know, when we're asking a developer or anyone to put in a kiosk, or we find a good location for a kiosk, we just can pull the detail easily and have it installed.
I have a question. The future projects, are these actually in the works happening, or are these maybe in the future happening?
These are happening. I mean, yeah, I kept some vague, like the park at 95th. That's like a big question mark. There was direction from council over the summer to start research and some outreach, because we have a pretty outdated master plan from, I believe, 2009. But yeah, then the rest of these, yeah, these are all happening.
And then just out of curiosity, do you know what kind of improvements at Donegal would be happening?
We haven't, right now, so that grant again is for 5,000. I've requested 10,000 to get us a little bit further. But I know there's been discussion of, on the playground, there's a pretty large void, so adding some, filling that void with another piece of playground equipment. But I've been working with Connor on the Public Works team as well, and kind of envisioning what could go there, but could really use some more. Obviously, we want the neighbors' input, the neighborhood's input, and there's been a small outreach effort already, but yeah, that would be kind of step one, is getting some more feedback from the community prior to doing anything.
Brendan, you mentioned on the Lake Bourne Park plan implementation about parking, but isn't there a lot more to that plan than just a parking lot?
The turnaround in parking you're talking about?
Well, your last bullet under parks, future projects, says Lake Bourne Park plan implementation.
Right. So what's been allotted in for this year is the just the north parking and turnaround.
So that's what I was saying. So it's just about parking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the design.
What we're really wanting to also get into, using this commission when it's time to look at that master plan and what future plans, we just would love to be a part of that conversation, so that we're kind of in the loop, but we can also talk about, what does the public want? How do we get the public's feedback? And what can this commission do to help you, to know what the priorities, because we know the plan's already there. It's just a matter of which pieces of it need to be the next steps, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. That would be a big help.
Maybe just real quick still on that though, like, as we're talking about that, do you already feel like you have ideas for how we could help you, or like what that process could look like? Of course, there's these meetings, but I mean kind of like, you just mentioned with the Donegal Park, there's been a little bit of outreach to the neighbors. What was that outreach? Like, I'm more stuck, I think, on the like, how can we help you? And if you've given that thought yet at this point.
Yeah, so I guess if you're familiar with any homeowners associations or neighborhood groups. For example, the the Hazelwood community, I had reached out to them. So in terms of the Donegal Park updates, I had reached out to them about what kind of improvements they'd like to see, what they've seen in the past. So we had a little bit of a dialogue back and forth via email. That's ran dry a little bit, so it's really just a matter of kind of bringing that email back to the forefront. But in terms of your question of how can you guys help is, I think fleshing it out when there's items that whether Newcastle Trails or Historical Society have for ideas or plans, hearing them out and I guess utilizing resources that you have as community members to spread the word, or if we end up doing a survey, how we can get that word out to folks to get more community engagement, because we want to make sure that we're getting the right feedback and enough feedback to feel like we're making a confident decision on a lot of these projects or all of these projects.
Well, one goal Brenda and I have for your relationship and our relationship with you would be when Davi was in the position, he did a really great job of making sure we were kept in the loop of any project. And he'd be thinking, well, if I have questions, I should take that to the commission and get their feedback, because I've got 7 great minds that can help to kind of flesh out some ideas or even ask some questions that maybe he didn't think of. And I would just hope we can get more engaged on a more consistent basis moving forward and keep building on our relationship. So, because we're just 7 minds that can help you to think about, all those things that maybe you didn't think about, or we can challenge ourselves to how do we get out to the public, get their feedback, or grants. I'm not an expert on grants, but I know that this guy does a lot of grants with the Arts Council. So, as far as, how do we do that? How do we get that? Who should we be reaching out to? Are there any connections we've got with public officials and things like that we can help?
Great, yeah, that'd be a big help. Appreciate that.
And speaking of grants, so back to my question earlier to Gary, that RCO grant that he was mentioning, is that something that was already on your radar, or have you looked into that one specifically?
I'd have to look at exactly what it is. I know we do have an RCO grant for Park at 95th, I believe. But yeah, I'd have to look exactly at which one he's talking about.
I have 2 questions and 1 comment. The Hazelwood Boardwalk, is that for sure happening this year?
Yes.
Okay. Because that last time I was at the boardwalk, it was in pretty bad shape. So I just wanted to make sure that gets addressed immediately. And then the historical park, that's on the Lee property, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Has that been decided how that's going to be kind of managed and maintained over time? It's a little bit different than what we're used to, kind of from a park perspective.
How so? Oh, you mean just in terms of kind of its role as
Yes.
just the historical,
Yeah.
right,
Yes.
okay, I see what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah.
As far as I know, there has been some discussion with the Public Works Director and the city manager, and I think the Historical Society, I don't know where it stood exactly. I think the discussion started, but I don't know where they're at with how it's going to be managed or,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Just something to keep on the radar screen.
Yep, absolutely.
And then lastly, just because from an Arts Council's perspective, if there's anything that we can include some art element in any of our parks or trails, just want to make sure that that's in the forefront. That tends to bring interest to the parks and the trails. And so if there's anything that the Arts Council can do or anything that you can think of that us as a commission can do to help promote that element to the parks and trails, that would be well welcomed. So just keep that in mind.
Great, will do, thank you.
That's why we got you here. We've got that great kiosk at the end of the boardwalk on the east side. It's just a big wooden kiosk with absolutely nothing on it. Any Thoughts, plans for what we can do with that? I keep thinking that's the perfect place for a trail map. Right?
There should be a trail map of everybody in the park.
Got that. But I'm thinking just right now, we've got this beautiful, brand-new kiosk with nothing on it. I'm not going to argue with you on how it looks, but it's there. Well, again, I want to open up to Brendan to see if there's any thoughts there.
I mean, that was my initial thought, was adding a trail map. I don't think taking up the entire space, but I think there has also been some interest in utilizing it as a bulletin board. Upcoming events, city events. There's been people who have reached out, I think, to the community development group about, posting some of their flyers and whatnot. Whether or not that's the direction we want to go with it, I don't know, but there has been interest, so.
So my first consideration would be like at Lake Bourne Park, where we've got the secured box, or whatever we call that. It would need to be secured, it would need to be weatherproof, so things can go behind it and be protected. That would be definitely the first consideration.
I did have a thought on the backside of it the other day when I was walking down the boardwalk, because you can't see the backside of it when you're on the other side. Well, you're not going to be able to get close to it, right, to be able to read a flyer. So that could be a potential spot for artwork as you're coming from the boardwalk.
Yeah, I did ask Jeff Bronze about that when it first came out, and the direction was to hold off for a year or so until the time period had passed with the developers of the park. So
I think we're getting close.
So what's the barrier to just moving forward with putting up trail maps? Like what, again, I keep asking process, but like what would the first thing need to be to make that happen?
We just have to make a walking map, so a map that is shared to the public, one that right now the maps that we have show proposed trails, probably not trails that those are lines we would want to remove from the map. So it's really just a matter of finishing the comp plan, finishing the comprehensive plan map updates, and then utilizing that GIS data and removing the proposed, and maybe sprucing up the map to make it just more user-friendly, so people who just want to have a pamphlet that they can look at, it would be our go-to big kiosk map, and it'd be our little pamphlet handheld map. So to answer your question, it's just a matter of wrapping up the comprehensive plan so we can free up our map maker to develop it.
Okay, so complete comprehensive plan, we already have a map maker and they just need to make it and then what?
We do have a map maker. I don't want to throw things on his plate right now because he works in community development as well. So it's a little bit of an added. It's because he has GIS background that he can manipulate the maps. But yeah, it's a matter of getting the map to how we want it, and then, I mean, as far as I know, we have the plotter, and we could start, plotting out large maps. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Do you have interest in doing map making?
No, I don't. I'm more, I think the interest in like, from what I know, which I know is lacking, some of these things feel like just do it's. Like, I think I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around like why this hasn't been done before, or in like what exactly we might be waiting for. And it seems like comp plan has like a solid, that's a milestone. And so it's like, once that ends, okay, great. And then it sounds like maybe there's a little bit of a bandwidth issue for the person with this skill set. But that seems like that's, could be managed too. So I want to make sure I understand, like, is this hard to do? Is this something that needs to be prioritized by someone in specific? And like, is there something we can do to help that hasn't been done?
If I may, so the comprehensive plan was due, and the planning commission has not gotten to a point, so there's a significant holdup there to accomplish first and have that comprehensive plan adopted. And that is a group of volunteers who work in conjunction with staff, doing what they can. And then it is a bandwidth issue, because in the big scheme of things, when you have a staff of 20 or 21 people, updating a map versus providing essential services, when you have a bandwidth issue, it's going to become a lower priority because it's not as essential a service. It's an amenity, it's a nice to have, it's an important to have, especially in a community where we have so many trails. But when you have a staff of 21.8 people, it becomes a lower priority. So it's not like, let's just get it done. It's not that hard to do. It's finding the time to do it.
Okay, so now to Nathan's question, is this because only one person like has the permission to do this? Or are we've found ourselves in a situation where only one person has the experience and skill set? But maybe that's something we could help with, of like identifying another person with the skill set of map making. Is that possible?
Yeah, that seems possible. I mean, so yeah, I would say it's your second there. It's that we have someone who has the skill set. Just not the bandwidth right now. So if there was another outlet, whether that's getting someone else up to speed on how to make these maps, or I don't know, contracting it or something like that, then those are also options.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Brendan? Thank you so much. Appreciate your coming out tonight. And we look forward to our continued working together.
Likewise, thank you.
Okay. 8.3, we're going to update commission position numbers. So in your packet, I think you all know the kind of the reason behind this. So years ago, they renumbered the positions 1 through 9, and that was because positions 1 and 2 were given to the youth volunteers that were on the commission. I want to get us back to positions 1 through 7, and if we ever do re-implement the nice group or have 2 more volunteers to come with us, they can be positions 8 and 9. So I would like to make a motion to renumber our positions, which are currently 3 through 9, to be 1 through 7. So 3 becomes 1, and 4 becomes 2, as the handout shows. And the handout also shows the years that our terms will end. So I would like to make a motion that we renumber our positions as noted. Is there a second?
I will second that.
And then all in favor? Aye. Shally? Aye. Okay. So motion has passed. I will now pass this information on to our city manager, who just said it's pretty easy to get our positions renumbered. So thank you. Okay. Exploring commission name change. So also in your packet is some options that we were all asked to think about. We've talked about this at a couple meetings, that I really feel that it's important that we kind of get back to our, I'll call it our grassroots of what the commission was designed for, without losing the emphasis on supporting the community and supporting activities. I believe if you're in your packet, the last one is Ed. There have been several additions since that. So let me read them to you. So Shally has one called Community Parks and Activities Commission. With an acronym, the CPAC. Allison put out Community Commission for Recreation and Activities. And Christian had two. Community Enrichment Commission. And Community Awesomeness Commission. If you want me to spell awesomeness, let me know. So have you all had a chance now to kind of think through them? Do we have one that's a favorite? Shally?
So I do agree with with what Gary said about CAC being a little bit cumbersome. Like, I think it needs to be to the point. So I like Parks and Activities Commission. I think the community part is it's redundant, and it's really long. Parks and Rec would be just fun, but I think we do more activities than recreation. So my vote would be Parks and Activities Commission.
Go ahead,
The
Ken.
only, I might advocate for Parks and Recreation because I feel like it's like an industry standard naming that a lot of members of the community might just immediately recognize and know what that means. Whereas some of these, if you've never heard of it before, of course, we're trying to come up with a name that's very intuitive and you wouldn't need it explained to you anyway. But that one I think just has like that broad recognition that makes it strong.
Kim?
Yeah, I guess I would agree that that is the industry standard, despite the sitcom related to it. And I don't think we're ever gonna, what I worry about is that inclusivity factor of like, well, but what about trails and what about this and what, like we could layer it on for 100 years. And the bottom line is, which I said at the last meeting, I don't think the name matters as much as us doing the work because it's written in our charter. And so, you know, I even question whether, is there the political will to even do this now at this time? You know, are we exercising in futility because it's going to go to the council and that wouldn't be something that they want to talk about? It's new name tags, it's new business cards, it's new placards, it's new, you know, you can just kick that can down the curb toward, this is going to, in staff hours, to control F and find it all on the website and fix it. Is it important to change the name or is it important for us to do the right work? And we ourselves have to advocate for that work and our, you know, the council has to know when to send work to us and the city needs to know when we need to be involved. And that's probably more important than what we call ourselves.
Ed, do you have a option here?
Kind of along the same lines of what Kim was saying, I'm wondering what the costs to the city are of making a change like this, and is it really worth it? If we decide it is, then I would advocate for leaving community in there, because I think that's a really important word, to emphasize what we do. And so I would vote for, Community Activities and Parks Commission would be probably my first choice.
Okay. I actually like Chalets, Community Parks and Activities Commission. So we are all over the place, and
Maybe it would be help then to back up, because I think Kim had a really good point that I wasn't even thinking of, but is the problem we're trying to solve one of external awareness and recognition that members of the community don't know exactly what this commission is supposed to be doing, and maybe for, I don't know, sponsorship conversations or others, that would help by having a different name? Or is the main problem we're solving just that hasn't been as much focus on this area as we feel like there needed to be, so we just need to change our internal processes again? Because maybe that would help a little bit.
okay, well, I kind of feel like we've gone through this before, but let's go over it again. So when the commission was originally put together, it was the Parks Commission. And it was also in a time when the city was new and we didn't have a lot of parks. So they decided they needed a group of volunteers to come together to help plan the parks and name the parks and design the parks. We did not have a Parks and Trails planner at the time. So this commission did a lot of that work to help plan and develop. In 2016, I believe it was, Mayor at the time decided that we should be more about activities, that there were not a lot of things happening in the city of Newcastle, and that this commission really should be about activities. Well, the charter never got changed. Our duties never got changed. To Kim's point, we should be more involved in those things, but I think it's also important that the commission be named as such, that for sponsorships, when you're talking to businesses, when you're talking to entities, that we're more, when I say entities, I mean government bodies, that we're more than just activities. We are parks, and parks to me is under the umbrella of parks and trails and including historical things. So putting parks to me back into the name gives us the type of identity that I think this commission should have. I think that is integral. I hear you about the cost. I hear you about the prioritization. Clearly, we've got some more work to do. I'm going to reach out to Mayor Clark and see if this is something that the council feels is even something we should be talking about, or have them go, look, we got more important fish to fry right now, and I'm going to ask Amy to go out and say, what would the cost be? We don't have to redo these, Kim. We don't have to redo these. There's nothing there. But yes, name tags would have to be remade. There's a lot of other things that have the name, business cards. So there is an expense. We should know what that is. That's a very good point. So
Anytime an agenda bill is presented to council, you have to comment on fiscal impact. So
we need to know that.
you need to know that.
Yes. Okay.
And I think probably the ongoing cost is pretty minimal. It's the initial upfront cost of working on the website and creating new signage and things like that, so.
But step back for a second. I'd like to ask the commission, I know what your thoughts are as far as maybe why do we have to rename it, let's just do it. If council says it's a priority and we know it's not going to cost a lot, if we were to rename it, what would be your thoughts? We don't have to go through that tonight. I think we've taken this as far as we need to tonight. I've got the feedback so far that I was looking for from some of us. This is a living document on the website, so you can go back in, and I'm also going to put a place for what people's choices were. But like I said, none of us agreed on any of them, so we're not even close to being in a place where we could make that decision. Okay. Thank you for that. And last thing on our agenda is commission subcommittees. So also in your packet, and this is a living document on our SharePoint site. So Amy, is there anything that we need tonight, people to go in? I just really wanted the commissioners to see this, know that it's a living document on our SharePoint site. Go in and put subcommittees you would be interested in helping to work with. But I also know that you said there might be some priorities.
Yeah, there are some priorities. So the subcommittees that are suggested here are based on what the commission has done in the past, and these are the areas where I, as a staff member, could most use support. Subcommittees are not limited to what I need help on. You could also form an additional subcommittee that supports Brendan, an additional subcommittee that supports an interest that you have in the commission. So this is not an exclusive list. And what I tried to do this year is give you a sense of, if you are on the sponsorship subcommittee, here are the 3 things that I, as a staff member, need support on. Notice that I combine the fireworks and the concerts. Signing up for that subcommittee doesn't mean you have to attend all of those events. What it means is I need support with the planning, like helping select the bands, helping select the food trucks, helping with the fireworks playlist. The commission had talked about improving the concerts and the park experience by having pre-concert events. So brainstorming what those would be, going out and helping to find who those providers would be. So hopefully that gives you a better sense of what I need in order to get support to execute these. I do need, because folks who are interested in the fireworks and concerts, because I would like to, whether it's 1, 2, or more of you, no more than 3 because of our quorum, our open public meetings requirement. I do need to know who those individuals are who are interested, because I would like to narrow down our list of bands for fireworks. Okay, so we have Kim and Shali, and if anybody else is interested,
I'll help you, yeah.
Okay, so I'll reach out to the 3 of you to move that forward, because I want to narrow down that list of bands and get those folks booked. Lots of people, lots of interest. And then, so the staff had planned some things for Earth Month. If there is an interest by the commission in doing more than what the staff has planned for Earth Month, then that would be a subcommittee you'd want to put together pretty quickly and discuss what that plan might look like, and what you would hope to have happen during Earth Month, if anything beyond what the staff have planned. So that's the only one where I really need to know maybe sooner rather than later.
Do you have what staff has planned for Earth Month?
Yes, I discussed it in my report. So we're going
Okay.
to do some sort of volunteer event on the weekend along the lines of what we did last year, which was Weed Warriors, rescuing trees from the invasive ivy. I've also discussed with our surface water specialist, getting folks out on the trails throughout the month, using iNaturalist app to log invasive species, and then putting in a good effort to get more folks out adopting drains and attending to the drains. Axton Hughes, our surface water specialist, is going to be attending the Coal Creek YMCA Healthy Kids Day to also promote that there. So that's what staff have planned for Earth Month. So if there's more that the commission would like to have happen, that subcommittee will want to get together and decide what that is.
Okay, so in the next few weeks, go into the SharePoint site. If there's anything else you guys are interested in, helping support, add your names. Okay, do we have any other public comment? No? Okay, Gary.
Hi. Nathan, I strongly support just going back to a simple Parks Commission. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a real thing. I think the name is publicly known. Everybody knows what a Parks Commission is. If they read about a Parks Commission, they might attend a hearing. You know, it could be Parks and Recreation, that's good too, but Parks Commissions, put parks first. Everybody wants parks. If you're a Community Activities Commission, some people who really want great parks may not show up. They may not appear and volunteer and think about joining the group or visiting the meetings. So a name is important. Short, simple names everybody knows. And I just strongly support Nathan in what he's trying to do. And again, I've had a lot of people tell me this. I mean, if it had time, I could have gotten letters of support, comments from people like Carol Simpson and Diane Lewis and members of our own board who just strongly supported the Parks Commission in various ways. But the word park should be there.
Thank you, Gary.
Oh, and by the way, we have a potential volunteer map maker, so Connie, maybe we can talk together afterwards. And I have a question for Brendan. That Kenyon Dobson Trail is a very important thing, and it was exciting to work on it. But the key people that I know in that department have left. They lost their, Jason was my link after the head of the department left. So who are you working with here?
That's a great question. I followed up after I heard that Jason had left to get the ball rolling again with Renton, and I haven't received a response back. So I follow up with them every couple of weeks to see, but I haven't heard anything yet.
Good, and I've written letters too, trying to reach them. There is one person, someone I know, our former Mark Regos, our former Public Works Director, has someone working for him that now works in Renton Parks and Recreation. And she's a great trail fan, and so I can try to contact her, you know. But we've got to get Renton moving, because if they build that trail with us, we can get them to do some other great trail projects.
Agreed.
Son? Councilmember Burford.
Yeah, today I'm here and I have a great time attending the meeting. I'd like to just say I really appreciate each and every one of you for all that you do for our community. That's why tonight is today's Moon Festival, Lantern Festival. It's part of Lunar New Year. It's for family celebration. But I'm here joining you all. And after that, I will celebrate with my family at home. So for anyone, if you're listening, if you do celebrate Lantern Festival, I wish you all happy family reunion and best wishes to you all. 谢谢, thank you.
Thank you, son. Peggy.
I'm Peggy. Just want to make sure that when you guys manage to put together some kind of survey to find out what priority people want to put on various elements of the Lake Bourne Parks Master Plan, we should include cost, because that was not done before. People just said what they wanted, but they weren't allowed to take cost into account. If they take cost into account, it could make a big difference. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hi, my name is Paulina. I'm new in Newcastle. I just moved from Mexico City. I'm studying my master's degree in UW in infrastructure planning, and my capstone project is on trails of Newcastle. So yeah, there's a lot of citizens. I don't know very well how the commission works, but there's like citizens, obviously like the ones that are here and now me, that we know we have a lot of skills. I'm doing a map in trails in GIS. I know GIS through UW. So it's also a good opportunity not to double efforts. Or I know also City Hall has a lot of priorities, projects happening, but there are citizens here that can do other stuff and are happy to do it. So yeah, I just wanted to share that in case there's like some project in the future where citizens can be involved by, I don't know, using their skills to, yeah, we're happy to help. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, our next meeting is on March the 12th. I will be out of town, so Ed, Vice Chair Flash, will be leading the meeting. And if there's nothing further, the time is 7:30, and I will call this meeting adjourned.